Hello, everybody. This is Danny, and I have a wonderful guest today. I have Angie, who's going to give us some insights on her whole journey of writing her novel, and she's working on her next one. I'm not really sure how much of a series, how big her series is going to be, but we'll dive into it, and I'll let her introduce herself. Take it away.
Hi. Yeah, like Danny said, I'm Angie. I write fantasy. I've published one book so far. I'm working on my second one that comes out in December. Yeah.
Cool. And can you give us a little backstory on you, just a little bit, so people understand who you are, like what got you interested in writing and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah. I've been writing for most of my life, kind of never as a career until now, but just always something that I enjoyed doing. And I'm a biologist as well. I've spent about, I don't know, 12 years now in the biology world. I got my bachelor's and master's degrees in biology, and then now I work in consulting, and consulting is tough. It's very demanding. It's kind of just like a pretty intense 9 to 5, 40 hours a week, and for someone that got into biology because I love wildlife and conservation, it can be really difficult to work on these projects where it's a lot of not necessarily destruction, but it's not always happy stories. You know, we're doing a lot of like development permitting and working in mines and things like that. So it kind of started to wear me down. And at the same time, I started writing more and getting more into writing fantasy. And my fiance was very encouraging of that. And eventually he was like, why don't you just try to do this? Like, people do this as a job. You can just try, like, you can just be an author and leave this job that you don't really like. So I did, and I just kind of went for it. And now I still work part-time in biology, which is nice because I didn't have to leave that world entirely, and I still have a paycheck, which is cool and necessary. And yeah, I put one book out and decided to just self-publish it because that kind of seemed like the way to go. Yeah, that's a bit of my background.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, I think that's really good to give people the insight, like, oh, I just did it. No, there's so much more to everyone's, like, we all have layers of things we go through, and it's not like you just put it out there. No, you had someone that helped support you on that route. So that's very helpful.
Yeah,
Can you
absolutely.
give us, oh, sorry, what was that?
Oh, I just said absolutely.
Yeah. So I would love to get some tips from you, like how did you manage to get out there, and talk about maybe some of these insights of things that you learned and you're like, ooh, this made it so much easier for me, or some tools or whatever it may be.
Could you be a little more specific? Like, do you mean with publishing process specifically, or writing process, or what do you mean?
Like the whole process. So the writing, the editing, the publishing, all of it.
All of it? Okay.
Just like
Yeah, so I guess
tips and things that you are like, ooh, this was really helpful.
um yeah, man, there's a lot of steps. Let's see. Well, where I'm at right now, I would say find some good test readers when you get to that point. That's a really good thing. Find some beta readers that you trust that aren't just going to tell you that it's great because they want to make you feel good. Find some people who will really read it and be dedicated and give you good feedback. That's a huge start. So get at least a few people to do that for everything that you do, everything that you want to publish at least. And along the same lines, do your best to find a good editor. One really tough thing about self-publishing is that you don't have the same editor relationship that you would in traditional publishing. In traditional publishing, often, you kind of get assigned an editor, and then that's your person, that's your editor that you work with quite closely, or a team of editors. A lot of the big authors have teams of dozens of people working on their books. But as an indie author, you're a lot more limited. So do your best to find someone who you trust, again, who is supportive and will actually give you good feedback. I know some authors choose to skip the editing process. I would highly recommend against that. Even if you're really incredible and really good, you always need at least a second set of eyes on it, if not more. So get a good editor. Let's see. For the self-publishing route, I would say another big tip would be get a good cover. If you're gonna invest some money in this and do it right, find a good cover artist, and actually put some budget into that if you can. Like if you're breaking things down budget wise, I would say those are the two biggest places to put your money: good editor and a good cover. Your cover is your strongest piece of marketing. It's the first thing people see when they look at your book is your cover. It should tell them exactly what your book is not about, but exactly what the genre is, and it should line up with that genre perfectly so that someone can just look at your book and say, yes, this is the kind of book that I like. And they're so much more likely to either buy it or engage with it or just pick it up in some way. Let's see, what other tips?
Yeah, I wanted to mention something from that. Like, I think that's really good that you pointed out those two, because I completely agree with you. It really needs to see more than just your eyes when it comes to the editing. And then the book cover is super important. And then when you mentioned about beta readers, I think it's really good for people when they get those people to already have pre-planned questions, and then maybe also say, oh, and if you have any other feedback or input to tell me or let me know about, you can add that. That's something that I've told a lot of my community members, that this is good to do, because like you said, they might just not really give you the feedback. And it's like normally we're looking to specifically hear on certain parts of it, or like if there's a good flow or whatever it may be. So I think it's really good that you pointed out those three things to help people with this. And I'm glad you pointed these out, because when you're self-publishing, like you and I said, oh, just all these things, you're like, whoa. Yes, there's a lot of steps that are involved when you're self-publishing, and it can be overwhelming, but that is a huge reason why I created this supportive community, to help everyone, to give you some insights on having like these speakers where you can hear like what they did and things like that. So I don't want anyone to feel like they can't do this, because anybody can write a book. It's just that we have to learn some of the steps and some of the processes of it that can make it easier for you and make it more on the success of coming out and like how you want. And then you also mentioned about a professional editor. I think that's so good that you have to click with them. And we also can't forget that, yes, they're the editor, but when they're giving you these tips and suggestions, it doesn't mean you have to change everything. Because if it's like a main point in your story and it's like they don't fully understand that, you can talk with them about it, because it's still your story. They're there just to help you. So it's just good to remember that too. Let's see, you're talking about the editing process. Let's see, what did you do about the book formatting?
I definitely, there's so many ways to format a book. I don't have my system super dialed in. I will say I've done it a little differently both times. I write in Scrivener because I really enjoy the way that it sets things up. It makes it easy to organize chapters. And then it makes it really easy to export in different formats. So that's really cool. But it is a little weird to do all of your formatting in Scrivener because it's coded. So you don't like physically do the formatting. You set all of your settings right, and then it exports it. So it's a lot of trial and error at first. But once you get it dialed in, it's awesome. So I usually export from Scrivener, and then I do my, this is bad. You shouldn't do this because it's a nightmare, but I do my final editing in Word. Because in my other job, I got really good at formatting in Word, weirdly. So that works for me. I am working on changing my process though. My plan for next time is to use a different design software. But again, like it really just depends on how much you want to spend, how much you want to put into it. I would say like formatting is hugely important, because if you're going to format your own book and self-publish, my goal with mine is to always make them look exactly like a traditionally published book. Like it should be as close to on par with the professionals as you can make it. It should look professional and clean and be really tightly formatted. So whatever program you feel like you can do that with best is fine. And if you don't want to spend extra money on all these fancy programs, there's cheap ways to do it. You can get free trials too. That's another thing. A lot of these formatting things will give you like a week free trial. So if you really wanted to, you could write the whole thing in like Google Docs, buy a week free trial, you know, not buy, but get one, and then do all your formatting in that week and export it and cancel it. Like there's tricks to save money on this too. But there's a lot of different ways. I would just say like, don't scamp on that part, because your reader's not going to give a shit if it took you 3 days to format this. They just want it to look nice, right? So like, they don't care how hard it is to do. It just needs to be done. And then once you get all this down, like you get your process figured out, and it's not too bad. It might take you a long time the first time, and the next time it's 2 hours. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm glad that you pointed that out too, because we have to think of the reader. And if your book looks super messy inside and it's like hard for them to follow what's going on, they're less likely to want to get that book, because they're like, this is already so hard to read just looking at the format in it and everything. And I know like when I did my self-published children's picture book, I actually paid someone to do it, because I was like, my mind was just already overloaded, and I was like, I just can't do it. And then this, my international bestseller, I actually did that through a hybrid publishing company. So they did all the formatting for me. And I was like, oh my gosh, it feels like weight is lifted off of my shoulders, because they helped tremendously with all the other steps. But this book that I'm writing now, I'm going to self-publish it. So I'm going to go down this with a book instead of a children's picture book. So I'm trying all these different things, I guess. So I'm excited to take part some of these things that you had mentioned and see if it works for me or not as well. I know that I use Google Doc, and you know, when you talked about the editing process, I tend to do a lot of editing on the Google Doc as well. So we will see. I think that's just my go-to as well. So let's see. We touched base on the editing, the beta reader, formatting. Now let's go back and talk more about the whole writing process. So I know that you have written a fantasy. So that means that you probably have character arts, you built your characters, you probably built the scenes, like all of it. How was that process for you? And like, what was hard? What was easy? What did you love the best of?
Yeah, I don't actually have any character art yet. I'm just at the point where I'm starting to get that going, because it's a series, so I'm kind of doing things one step at a time. And character art can be really expensive. But yeah, for all of my books, I start with an outline, kind of. That's not entirely true. Usually I start with a few scenes that strike as like inspiration. I'm like, ooh, I need to get these down right now. And I'll usually write those scenes or chapters, and then I start to piece together like who these people are that I've written. Like usually they come into mind, I guess, with like a very strong personality and story, and then I try to decipher why they are who they are, and then perhaps either what they would do next or how they ended up in this situation. And that helps me build up my plot. And then from there, I usually build an outline, which kind of changes and flows as I go. It gets more detailed as you build. And then, then just kind of fill in the outline, I guess. But for characters specifically, yeah, I try to start with a couple strong characters who really lead my narrative. I find it easiest to build my plot based off my characters and who they are. And I think my biggest thing that I found that works for me is to find my really strong lead or two leads, figure out who they are, what they care about, what their motivations are, what their morality is, and then build someone who is in exact opposition to them for some reason. Not always the reason that might be obvious or is like, oh, this is just a really bad person. You know, they have real motivations. They have real complicated lives of their own that have put them in conflict with my main characters. And the more of that you can pack in to not just your plot, but who your characters are, if that makes sense, you will find building a plot so much easier because it will just start to flow of like, oh, well, if this person does this, someone else is going to be pissed. Like something else is going to go wrong for someone else. And you'll find that will kind of pinball back and forth. At least it does for me. And one thing that I love about writing fantasy is like you can weave so much of this not only into your characters, but into your world. I mean, same with sci-fi and anything really, but like when you're working with worlds that don't play by our same rules, you can make all of this so much bigger and more dramatic, I suppose. And you can build in systems that lend themselves to this conflict. And it's just really fun. I don't know. I just really love it. Writing fantasy is awesome. It's like reading, but 10 times better because you're just really in it. And I find for me, like it doesn't, once I kind of figure out my character, it really doesn't feel like I'm writing their story or like making it up. It feels like they're just telling me what happened to them. Like they're telling me their story and I'm just here as the designated writer, as Anne Lamott calls it, just get it down on paper.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And I love how you pointed out in it about how I asked you like the character arc, the outline, all this kind of stuff. And you're like, well, actually, I didn't really follow that and stuff, because I think so many of us forget that the writing system is completely different for every kind of writer out there and every aspiring author. So it's like, for instance, when I have some suggestions of like how I did it, that's all they are. There's suggestions, what works for me. It doesn't mean that this is going to fit for every single person. And that's the same for Angie, the way that she does it. It's maybe not going to fit for someone else, the system that works for her. And it's like, because there's some people that are all about, oh, I need to have a list of to-dos. I need to check it off and stuff like that. And then there's the people that kind of get mixed where they're like more on the flow side, but they also like some kind more of a structure with the to-do list. And then there's like the people that are more on the flowing side where they just let it come out of them and they just are doing that throughout the whole thing. So it's really good to pick up on what kind of person you are, what works for your writing style and how you write, and figure out how you can do it, because sometimes you can't write chapter by chapter by chapter. Maybe it's writing a chapter 7 and chapter 2 or all out of order, and that's completely fine, because like how Angie said, is it was these certain scenarios or scenes where she was like, oh, I gotta write this, and so she grew from those. So I think it's really good that you pointed those things out, because yeah, it's not one size fits all when it comes to writing a book.
Yeah, I will say one more thing on the character side and just like plotting in general. One thing that I find that really helps is the sooner you can figure out your end point and like the ending that you're going to give all of these characters, the better. It gets immensely easier when you're like, oh, this is their answer. This is their final moment. This is their end. Because then everything you're doing is pointing towards that. So it won't come right at the beginning. I mean, it might if you're super lucky. Some people, I know some people it does. For me, it doesn't. But the sooner you can nail that down and then just work towards that, the better.
Thank you. Thank you for pointing that out. I learned about that after, and I wish I would have thought of that before, but now I know. I've learned, and that just means this next book is going to be a whole lot less stress on the ending part.
Faster writing too, I'm sure.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so we've touched base on the whole writing process, characters. Let's see, we talked about editing, publishing. That's where we're at. Okay, so the publishing part. So you self-published. Now, you've already, let's say that you already gone through the professional editor and that stuff. So like what did you do right before you published? What were some of the steps that you took? So like this could also be with the getting it out there on social media, advertising, or what else you did. Did you have a book launch?
No, I did what you would call a soft launch, which is where I panicked for like 2 months and then I just released it. I have a newsletter and I do have like an Instagram following, but at the time I had hardly an Instagram following at all. So I just kind of announced it and then did all the things I needed to do to get it out and released it. I didn't do any like big social media push beforehand. I didn't advertise. Yeah, just sent kind of a few newsletter blasts, mentioned it a couple times, and told all my family and friends. Started there. It was just like, hey, I'm doing this thing. If you could help me out and like order my book on this day, that would be awesome. So that was nice because then you get that little push at the beginning, which puts you on the Amazon charts, which is cool. Yeah, so I did just like a really slow rollout. I was like, I just want to get this out, get it done, get a feel for it. It was my first one. I wasn't trying to break any records or hit any lists or anything. It's just like it just needs to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I reached out to a lot of like Instagram book talk, bookstagram people. Kind of a mixed success there. I focused a lot on like smaller profiles of just like people that I already followed or that seemed cool. And they were really stoked, which is cool. It's a nice thing to just be like, hey, you have 2,000 followers. Like, do you want to read my book? Because like every little bit counts. And they're not the ones that are getting like inundated with, 50 requests a week. So it was cool. And then so many of them were so sweet. I had so many people respond and just be so excited. They loved the book. They would like message me after. I had this one guy, he's such a sweetheart. He lives in the UK. He would leave me voice messages as he was reading it, like every night. He would, which was like morning for me or whatever it was. He would send me like a 5-minute voice recording of like his theories about what's going on. And it was just really fun. So yeah, I mostly just focused on like real little connections like that. Which I think was like encouraging for me, because it's so hard. I hate selling myself. I hate talking about myself. I hate it. So it was tough. And I was just like, this is an easier way for me to do this and feel like I'm just making a friend rather than being like, hello, buy my book to, you don't know me. And then I did. I like have made a lot of connections that way, which is really cool. So yeah, I guess like long-winded answer. If it's your first one or first two or first 4, whatever, you don't have to put that much pressure on your release. You're not going to hit any lists. Like you got to sell 5 to 6,000 copies in a week to be a USA Today bestseller. If you are an indie author, you don't even qualify for the New York Times list. So like, don't even fucking worry about it. Like my point is like, you are up against a multi-billion-dollar industry that is built to get people to hit these lists. Like they have entire marketing teams that are dedicated to taking your book's name and putting it at number 1. And that is what they do. And if you do not have that behind you, it's not really worth the fight until you are in a position where you've built your business, you've built a following, you've got a bunch of books out that people know. That's when you put together a strategy and push for those lists. And it totally can be done. It's just like, I'm not even going to try to do that until maybe my 3rd book, possibly not till the end of my next series. So yeah, you don't have to put that much pressure on like building a big launch and getting all this momentum going. It might feel good. to sell a few hundred copies in your first week, but like you don't have to. It's a marathon. It is definitely more about just like building over time, doing it in a way you can sustain, because it's work. So like you have to set out a schedule that you can stick to and that you want to do over and over again, and not stack a bunch of pressure on top of it and then be like, oh my God, I never want to go through that again. Like the idea, at least for me, is to build something that I can sustain and I can keep doing for the next 25 years or more. So yeah.
Thank you for being transparent and saying that, because I mean, it's definitely a marathon. It's not a sprint. And there's a lot of people that they work on getting the book launch out there and everything. And it's like, yes, I'm totally down for people to do this too. But so many people give all of their all to that time. And then a month or two later, they kind of don't give the love that their book deserves. It's not like it didn't touch everyone's lives, or it didn't like be seen by everyone. So you have to just keep talking about it or keep bringing it up or everything. And I like how you also point out that you don't like to like sell your book. You don't want to be the promoter on that side. You don't want to feel like the salesy kind of person. And I completely agree with that for myself. So like when I do talk about my book, like the one I'm writing right now, it's pretty much when I'm on a walk and I just make a story on Facebook or Instagram about it. Like, oh, hey, I'm writing my book right now. And it's really hard. And so I just explain it, because I've found that there's many of my audience, they are interested on learning about the whole experience of writing. So I'm not telling them, hey, buy my book when it comes out. It's all about, hey, this is what I'm going through as I'm writing this book. And yeah. And then I'll say like the good stuff, the bad stuff, maybe show them where I write, all these things. So they get more of the insights of the whole process more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it comes to the day that I'm going to get it out there, I'll be like, hey, if you want, my book's going to be released this day. And so there I might be a little on that, but I'm still not going to be like, it's your choice if you want, I guess. But yeah, I think that's so good that you said that, not a sprint, marathon. And the New York Times, I didn't know that. I didn't know that they are not into indie authors. So that's a little disappointing.
Yeah, you have to be traditionally published. I think you have to be one of the big 5 for to be able to hit the New York Times list. I think it's restricted to only the big 5, which I guess is the big 4 now. But yeah, traditional publishing is is a completely different world. And it can be intimidating to be like, oh, I have to sell 40,000 books this year to be a real author. Like you just, I don't know. It's very different. It's
yes.
whole
And
industry in itself.
Yeah. And then just to let everyone know that you don't have to sell 40,000 to be a real author. Like that's just what they have in their minds, I guess. But yeah, like you're an author when you press publish, or when you have the hybrid publisher help you with it, or if you do traditional publisher, but you don't have to go the traditional publishing way. I actually had a guest speaker that had worked in traditional publishing for like 25 plus years or something. And so she created a hybrid publishing company that's like based off of what she had learned, because she sees how so many of the traditional publishing companies are actually losing their mojo. They're losing like all the good stuff that they were actually doing, because now so many of the hybrid publishings are able to do so much of those things. And then the royalties, that's a huge thing there, because the royalties, the traditional publishing takes such a huge, I think it's like what, 70, 80%.
Yeah, and then your agent takes 15. So for the most part, if you go the traditional route, I think most authors end up with 10 to 15%.
Yeah. So it makes sense why you'd probably want to sell so many, so you make something.
Well, and then you have to, because in the traditional world, you sign a book deal, your goal, so say you get a $60,000 book deal, you have to outsell your deal to make your money back for your publisher. So that's often why you'll see people with bigger deals get more of a marketing budget or more of a marketing push. At least that's the way it used to be. It's not as much anymore, which is another thing that's really scary about traditional publishing. Um, there's a whole, I could go on about this forever. There's a lot of things in this industry that are strange, and that are getting harder and harder as these companies have to tighten their belts. But yeah, you have to out earn your deal and earn that money back for your publisher before you even start making royalties. So they will not pay you until you earn them their 60 grand back, and then you make royalties on top of that. And if you don't make that, they will not give you another book deal most of the time. If you don't out earn what they paid you for their investment, they will drop you, and you will have to go find someone else to hopefully buy your next one. So sometimes those bigger deals can be a bit of a trap.
Yeah.
It just really depends on what matters to you.
Well, and I'm so glad that you told us this, because I know a lot of aspiring authors, they look at going with a traditional publishing company like, oh, that's what I need to do, and oh, then everything will be fine. But you just prove that, oh, that just adds a whole bucket load of other issues or obstacles that you have to go through and figure out. And then there's still that possibility that they'll drop you if you don't make it to X.
Yeah.
So,
and their marketing budget depends on what they decide. So if you land a pretty good deal and they expect you to out earn it, you might still be stuck doing most of that marketing by yourself with the added pressure of having to hit that target. And it's, it's different, publishers are different. So it's not a hard and fast rule that they will drop you if you don't make it, but it pretty much is. Like, if they spend 100 grand on you and they don't make that back, I mean, that's just an investment. They're a business. They have to make sure that they're making good investments or they won't grow, and they have to be growing if they're going to stay in business. So
yeah, no, that completely makes sense, because it is a business. And if we look at it in different ways, because like they can't just be nice to everybody out there, then they wouldn't have a business anymore. They'd be bankrupt. And it is just how you do those things. And that's why I think they also have made all these other kinds of publishing ways out there now too, though. So it's like, we can self-publish, which makes us have so much more freedom. Because like when it comes to traditional publishing, it also takes a bit more of your freedom away as well. Because it's like they want it to fit into their category of how their books are already created and all of these things. So I'm not 100% sure what they do about like how you have it written, if you would have to change that too. But I don't know insights on that.
Yeah, it depends. That really just depends on your publisher and on your book. But basically, from talking to some agents, the insight I got is that it's not always necessarily what is really good. It has to be good, it has to be special, but it also has to be what they think they can sell. They have to think that it's going to sell. So if it doesn't fit what they think is going to sell, it's probably not going to make the cut.
Yeah. Wow. Well, this is very helpful. Thank you. Now, I think before we close this off, I want you to give us a little bit of insights about your book. Like, what is this about? What's your book about? And all that kind of stuff.
Oh man, my least favorite question. I need to, I don't know if every author feels this way, but every time someone's like, what's your book about? I just die a little inside. Like, I don't know what, I don't know what it's about. No, I do. It's a fantasy series about a young woman who is a Selkie, who ends up kind of caught in this world of magic and forces that are out to demonize the inherent magic of the world. She finds herself in conflict with this high priestess of this new god who thinks that the old ways in sorcery are dangerous and evil, basically, and is out to persecute everyone that participates in that lifestyle. So she ends up kind of having to fight for her own life and for that of all of her people that she cares about. And yeah, it's like it's kind of similar to like The Witcher and Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. If you have read that, love that series. And one of my good author friends compared it to Rachel Gillig, and that was probably the best compliment I've ever received. So, so that's my mix of my three. But yeah, it's
Cool.
dark. It's kind of atmospheric. It's a little bit Norse mythology, a little Irish mythology. Yeah.
Awesome. So did you use some of the, like the actual Norse mythology and some of the other mythologies and combine them? So it's like people be like, oh yeah, I know about this mythology because it's similar, or
Yeah, the storyline is not as similar, but there's all of the characters are well, not all of them. Pretty much all of them are based off of some myth or another, and a lot of the monsters are as well. I don't know that people would necessarily like catch that. It really depends on how big of a mythology nerd you are, but yeah, there's a lot of inspiration in there.
cool. So you probably
Yeah.
did a lot of research to get some of that stuff in there, or
I did some. A lot of it is just like stuff that it's accumulated in my brain from different places that I've lived and things that are already in there. But yeah, I did do some. I tried to look up like specifics of things to see like where in the world these stories came from exactly and to make sure I was right in a lot of them. Um, I'm sure I didn't get everything right, and I'm sure the internet will correct me as it always does, but yeah.
Well, that's still really cool that you went and investigated it a little bit here and there to to see if you can get it aligned as much as you can. And then you said that this is going to be a series. So how many books is it going to be?
Three, unless the third one gets really crazy and I have to split it into four, but I think it'll just be three. So number
Nice.
two comes out in December.
Nice. And then what was the name of the book again?
The first one is The Source of Storms, and the second one is The Vines of Blood.
Cool. And then what's the series called for them?
The Stormbound series is what I'm calling it.
Stormbound series. Cool. Oh, I'm excited for you. That's going to be
Thank
awesome.
you. Thanks. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for being the guest on here. And Carol, did you have any questions for her?
Yeah, she's answered quite a few things to me because I was in that as I was sent you a thing sort of saying, oh, this person, have you heard of this person? My thing is I'm on a budget. So I've got memory problems. So I can't I'm in this thing at the moment is trying to work out, like you says, how to work with memory problems, with a disability, with so yeah, I was looking at that in a Shiner yesterday and thinking, no, I can't afford this because it's already going to cost me. Um, well, it's going to cost me whatever it is to this person, and I'm hoping that they're all right. But like I'm thinking to myself, it's my first go. I'm glad you said don't put any pressure on because that's what I was. I'm putting myself in. It's got to be right. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. So I like that person or that company looking at it and advice. Even though I got you, Danny, and everybody else. I just feel that they know what they're doing, and even if it's just a one-off, it'll help me. But the amount of pressure that I put on myself, like I said, and I think I can see why now, listening to you, why I'm ill today, because I wasn't mad. I think it was just in a worry, in a questions that I needed. And as I was sort of sat here, I'm thinking, wow, I'm glad I listened to you because you put I put a lot of things to bed for me today.
Oh,
And I
good.
can let it go, and I can let it go, and I can take my time, even though I was going to do that anyway, because I haven't put a pressure on. Like I says to you, I was going to do a year, even though it looking a bit quicker. But yeah, and you saying about not being the top 10, I wasn't looking at that anyway. But I do know that there's and listening to the courses and that is that you've got to have a launching thing and this, that, and I was thinking, oh shit, am I right for, and am I ready? And I'm in health, you know what I mean, for that to do. Because I've already said that it's a unique, what I'm doing with the spirit box thing, it's a unique thing. And I know that anyway, because that's, you can see the in the ghost hunters sort of things, they don't get the ghosts. They're looking for the ghost. I'm getting the bloody ghosts in my bloody house, for God's sake, on camera. So yeah, it's yeah. I hope that was, I made sense. I were all over the place there, but that's where I think that I was yesterday. It was like, oh my God, but yeah, and I need this and I need that and I need that and it yeah.
One step at a time.
Yeah, and I think that's what you said today, and I think that's what Danny said. But being you, yeah, the amount of thing that's in your head, and you sort of see yourself as a celebrity. Yeah, as what do you call her? The one that does the she's from, I think, Bradford. Ah, come on. The ones that I haven't seen, the trilogy type thing. Oh God, Daniel Radcliffe.
Oh, Harry Potter?
That's it. Yeah. Um you see yourself that you could get to that, and it's like, but that is, I mean, because she just took off, didn't she? Yeah,
She's the highest earning author in the world now.
yeah.
But you know what we don't see is all of the turmoil she went through to get there.
She
So
did say it at first, but
yeah.
I think it just got, but I can see it now, and listening to you, I can see it now, because she just said it was a whirlwind. It just it just took
It did.
over her life, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's good for us to realize, like, that's her life, that's what she went through. It's completely different for every single person
Yeah.
there. And if we compare ourselves to someone like that, it's hard to keep motivated or get that inspiration or something, because you're like, oh, but I'm not there yet. And that's okay. You're on a completely different path.
Yeah.
Your whole journey is going to be completely different, and it's completely fine. That's what you want it be, because you have a, oh man, I'm saying completely a lot. It's a long night for me, I guess. But yeah, so like, your life is yours and her life is hers. And that's like one of the worst ways to kill our dreams, is to compare ourselves to someone else, because we all have our strengths, our weaknesses, and they're different than someone else's out there. And that's fine. Like, that's what makes you unique, and that's what's going to make your book thrive for the way that you are. And that's why I love people to write from their heart. No matter what genre they're writing, you want to have a piece of yourself in there. And I think, like, Angie, when you mentioned, when people ask me about my book, like you said, your heart drops, it made me realize, yeah, it's because you have you inside of your book. And that's why it's hard sometimes to talk about this, because it's like, it makes you vulnerable when you talk about something that you care so much about. And
it's very hard to summarize when you're that close to it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I know every single detail, not just what's on the page, but what didn't make it to the page too. And so it's just, I'm still like practicing that summary, like that single sentence of like, this is the plot. I'm like, I don't know.
You see, I'm in the other way. I'm very reluctant to say what I'm doing, because I know there's people nicking my ideas, and it's been like that for ages, you know. in groups that I've done, in business proposals, it's just got nips. So I try not to say too much. And with me being not so much slow in reacting, people are quicker than me. They can do it now with AI. They can do it with a lot of different things. So yeah, I'm waiting. I'm waiting for a book around thing to be done, because somebody's taken, you know, my idea and been quicker off the mark than I am. Whether it's genuine or not, they've done it for spite. So yeah, I've got to watch my back, basically.
So I know that you said that you have a memory problem. I think it might be good for you to write a note to yourself to remind yourself that you don't need to stress about this. And like how you had mentioned what Angie said helped you realize, like, okay, it's okay. This is my first book, all of these things, because like the things that you've shared with me now and the last time we talked, it seems to me that you put a lot of stuff on your shoulders. And this book should be seen as, you know, it's something you feel that needs to get out there, but you shouldn't feel stressed about that either. And I'm so glad that Angie helped you realize, like, oh, it's okay, and slow down. It's okay to do it this way instead of that way, and doing all of like the book launch and all these kinds of things. Like, do what feels good for you.
Mm.
Yeah, the writing process is the whole point.
And that's
the point of writing the book is not to sell it. The point of writing the book is to write it.
Yeah, that's what I was concentrating on. But I was also hitting myself as well, thinking, should I be? You know what I mean? But I need to be, because I've got to figure things out and how to do it. I mean, someone could tell me the pages, the page layout, and that's it. It's gone within a couple of minutes, and I'm always sort of going back and leaving notes for myself. I'm tired of them now. I've got so many notes on so many notes. It's unbelievable. So even that now is sort of miffing me. But yeah, one of the things I was going to say, Danny, can we save this? I know it's on there. It'll be on school. Is there any way of downloading it so I can keep looking and think, what did she say? What did you say about that? Is there any way of downloading these sort of things up there?
Yeah, so when I save these videos, I upload them on YouTube, and then I save them under unlisted. So you only can watch them when you have the link. I'm not sure if you'll be able to download them from there when you do it that way. I'll look into it and see. Otherwise, I could just send you this video if Angie's okay with that.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because you said some really good things, and I've been listening, going, right, okay, yeah, that's so yeah. Thank you. You just came in on time. And I think it's because I've had to sit down, and before I would just, as I was saying to Danny, I would just empty in my head. But I started the process of, and even that, I'm sort of thinking, well, should that be chapter? Should that be chapter? And it's like, stop it, Carol.
Do it later. Worry about that later.
Yeah. Just get it down. So all these little picky things. Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. I'm glad, Angie, you were here at the right time.
Me too.
Cool.
Me too.
Well, thank you both for being here. I think we're going to be closing this off. It was nice having you guys here and seeing a little bit of other people here. And then this is going to be up in the community. So it's going to be in the school community. And then I'll send you a download of it as well. So then you have one. And then Angie, if you want to download, I can send you one too.
Sure. Yeah, why not?
Nice.
Okay.
Right. Well done, both of you. And congratulations on what you're doing. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Have a good day, everybody.
Thanks so
Bye.
much for having me. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.